Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you've struggled to say no and gave in to the requests of others? Do you feel guilty when you say no to your kids, friends, clients, or community members? Do you ever feel angry or frustrated due to your inability to say no to others and yes to yourself? If these scenarios are ones you can relate to, there's a good chance you need to learn to set, maintain, and communicate healthy boundaries in your life. Think of our boundaries as an imaginary force field, there to remind us and others of what we consider to be safe and permissible ways to act or respond around us. If someone creeps into our physical space or engages in some form of inappropriate physical contact, that's crossing a physical boundary. If someone berates or belittles you for offering a thought or perspective on something, they might be crossing a cognitive boundary. And if you've ever been put down or belittled for responding to someone or something with a certain emotion, there's a good chance you've had an emotional boundary crossed. So as we can see, boundaries are important and apply to so many different parts of our lives. Now, like all of the skills and abilities you've developed over the years that have contributed to your successes personally, professionally, and again within your communities, setting boundaries too is a skill. It takes time, effort, and often some failing in order to fully understand and insert into our lives in healthy ways. One of the most effective strategies to setting healthy boundaries is learning to say no the right way. To do this, we need to consider a few critical elements and ask ourselves some important questions. First, what is our perspective on boundaries? Do I know when it is a good time to say yes versus a good time to say no? What situations of saying yes or no create feelings of guilt and shame versus those situations where you know in your heart that saying yes or no is the right thing to do? It starts with perspective, and we owe it to ourselves to take a step back and consider our own. Next, take your time. If someone comes to you and asks for something, don't feel pressured to give an answer immediately. Whether it be 5 minutes, an hour, or an entire day, you owe it to yourselves to take a step back and ask yourself whether it's a good idea to say yes or no to the ask. Remember to revisit that perspective early and often. Once you've come to your decision, arguably the most important step to saying no the right way is to communicate your decision with honesty, authenticity, and transparency. When we can be honest with someone as to why we need to say no, the most beautiful thing about it is that it creates a long-term boundary that reminds the person that in similar asks not to assume that we will give up our time, energy, or resources. But when we let our choice to say no to someone be influenced by guilt, perhaps of hurting their feelings, shame, perhaps of letting them down, we tend to communicate excuses instead of with honesty, and this will never set a boundary. The person and the ask will be back, and you will be forced into the same situation over and over again. Lastly, when it comes to learning to say no the right way, we have to own our decision. We're never going to please everyone. Some people around us, even if they're our close family or friends, might be upset by our decision. Setting boundaries is about drawing the line in the sand that enables us to put ourselves before the needs and asks of others. And remember, whether setting boundaries or learning to say no the right way, being intentional with our time and energy to practice and perfect these skills can give us a superpower that will allow us to live happier and healthier lives. Thanks for watching and take care.